So I'll call the East Lyme Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Today is February 3rd. If y'all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do they have a PowerPoint right there? Oh, are you using for PowerPoint? Yeah.
Okay, my bad. I'm used to planning, leaving it down. They meet on Tuesdays. So there are additional agenda items I'd like to, with the permission of the commission and a 2/3 vote, I think it is, add the budget presentation, which was mistakenly left off, as I will give you the budget and then discuss it in general terms. I'd like to add that in just before the first Selectmen's report. So I think that's improperly marked there too. We have two 5As, so maybe right after ex officio reports. Let's make it before the ex officio reports, but after the blight ordinance. So if we could do that under information and reports, I'll give you the budget report. I guess we'll take a motion to add that.
I'll move to add the First Selectmen's budget presentation under information reports. Make that letter A, make ex officio B, and First Selectmen reports C.
Second.
Okay, can I, any comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Okay, I have one more to add. Apparently, we have a motion for this, and we knew we were talking about it. We don't have it on the agenda, and that is the add the firefighters' contract and the proper transferring of funds to the firefighters' budget. So if I could just get a motion on that.
I'll move to add the vote on the firefighters' contract under new business, letter J.
Can we make that letter G2, if you will, like right after the transfer of funding? We have two transfer of fundings. Let's put it right after the, like right after G. Insert in between G and H.
We'll make, we can make it subsection 1 or?
Make it H.
Make it H. We'll make that H. Make the firefighter contract letter H. Authorization for First Selectmen to sign a memorandum of understanding animal control facility I. And discussion fire department study J.
Second.
Any comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Had some comments, folks, to make sure we stay on the microphone tonight, especially Mrs. Hardy. We want to hear what you have to say, so make sure. Like, you see how your microphone is
Yes,
bent?
because I don't want them to hear me breathing.
Well, she was at the end last time too because of her illness.
That's
so.
true. You had an issue last week, but please, let's make sure we speak in the mics because apparently people watch this. And I always forget to say thank you to Victoria from the high school who runs our audiovisual, and I always save that to the end and then I forget, so we'll say it right up front. Thank you for your service to the town, service in our community. Thank you, Victoria. Got your name right?
Yeah.
Good. Any consent items? No. Delegations, people from the public wishing to speak to the commission. I know there are a few here tonight. Come on up. Yeah, you come up, you give your name, your address.
I'm not ready for that. So fast.
Yeah, it comes quick.
My name is Greg DeBrule. I am the owner and operator of the Blackhawk in Cheney Park. And I know parking is a problem down there for all of us. I know Niantic. I've been in Niantic since the 60s. My parents have a home in Adawan Beach, which I have now, and my son lives in Niantic. So we've been here a long time. I don't have any desire to leave Niantic. But anyhow, it's come to our attention, and Mike Stepsky's here to kind of help me out a little bit. There's so much lobster gear down there that's not being used. I have a photo. Come on up here. I made a photo, and unfortunately, they made it a little big. But
God.
it's gigantic. But anyhow, this was taken today, okay? And this spot here is a 60 by 20 piece under the bridge. And believe me when I tell you, you can see the growth coming out of the pots. These pots haven't been fished in well over a decade. So if we could get them out of there, it's one thing if they're being used, but they're not, okay? And this is just one section. There's other parts of the dock that have got gear on them. Now, I know Niantic wants to keep that commercial fishing atmosphere. I even have pots at my dock just for ambiance, you know? But there's so much parking down there that I think, I mean, what did we figure, Mike? We could probably get 30 cars in there if we get rid of it, you know? It's not being used. It's not, you know, so that was just my point. I didn't want to bring such a big picture, but that's
Who
how
did
it
that
is.
picture for you?
Fast signs, believe
They're
it or not. We went down there and took it today, and
Exceeding expectations every
Yeah.
time.
gigantic. But anyhow, like I said, I know it's a problem, and
Yeah.
and you know, we run a lot of trips, a lot of specialty trips. We don't take up as much parking as the town thinks, because some of our trips, like we're going to have a seal watch for Darian. Is that Dorian? It's a charity thing. And can I just say one more thing? Just, do you know how many people called up today and are not going to make it? They can't make it to the seal watch, yet they're writing checks for $15 for a spot just for it. I can't believe it. I don't mean one or two. I mean a lot. I mean incredible. But a lot of our trips are only, 20, 30 people, and they come 3/4 of the car, so we're not taking up a tremendous amount. But boy, if we could clear that up, it would really, I think it would help everybody.
While Mr.
Okay.
Drugill is at the podium, may I ask a question?
If you wish.
Who is the owner of the lobster pots?
Those are owned by Wayne Skinner. Yeah. And there's, on a different subject, those docks were put in with federal money. And they were put in for low income commercial fishermen. And the only ones down there that are making their living with this are myself and Mike Stepsky. I'm not trying to stir up but they're beautiful docks, and it should be for fishermen. That's what it's there for, Mr. Skinner, I've been there 10 years at that particular dock. Mr. Skinner, the only time that those lobster pots have seen water is when the tide rises real high. That's it, so they're, In most towns, I know Old Saybrook, I've done a lot of homework on this, most towns won't let you store that kind of gear down at the dock. I mean, two of my good friends, which we give a lot of bait to, George Main and Johnny Whitaker in Noank, they're full-time lobstermen. They're full-time, and they've got all their gear right on their property. It has to be there.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much
sir.
for the opportunity.
Good job, nice picture. Thanks, Greg. Other folks to speak in public delegation. Joe, you have to be here to say something. You'd disappoint me if you didn't come up.
Joe Barry, 111 South Edgewood Road. And just before I get into the sea, I got to kind of comment on that gentleman's remarks, because 10 to 15 years ago, I was arguing that same point. Why are all those lobster pots down there just taking up space? I'm sure Roseanne can remember those talks we had about getting those pots out of there. So I did it 15 years ago, so you know how much longer you got to wait.
We'll keep trying.
Within the month.
That's good. No, I would love to see that done, because that's how things are supposed to work. And one of the things, how things work, over 5 years ago, I introduced 3 young men and a business owner to the Board of Parks and Rec to show them how the political process worked. And what they were after was a request for a skateboard park in the town of East Lyme, and I'm glad to see Dave here, because Dave was very instrumental, and we did a lot of traveling around to prove this thing, that it was legitimate. To keep this brief as I can, their request was turned down for one reason or another. There was nothing but just full of excuses. Excuse for this, excuse for that. This person doesn't like, the kids hanging around. They're hoodlums, they're gangsters. 3 of those kids, 2 of them for a fact, and one of them was my grandson, went on to college and graduated. My grandson graduated with honors. The 3rd guy that I brought there is in his last 6 months with the United States Marine Corps. And he's finishing up his tour. He did 2 tours over in Iraq. But these are the kids that were looked at as hoodlums, that, they were bad for the reputation of East Lyme, that were denied this skate park. They tried so hard to get it. The business owner that was also came with us used to have a skate shop right there on Main Street. And he had to leave because, there was no support behind his business. So he ended up relocating to a more receptive area. And it was just too bad because, in a way, well, the shops that he was in is still being used, but it was just that he got kind of pushed out. Recently, I was watching Channel 22, and it was one of those rare times when there was actually audio with the video.
See? Things are changing.
Well, I don't know who to thank, but, most of the time I try to catch up what's going on in town, and I put it on there, and I can't read lips, so I don't know what's going on. And that's been going on for a long time, and I would love to see that corrected. Someday somebody's going to be able to correct that. Maybe this young lady's going to correct it. But the point being with that is I heard the first selectman make a report that several proposed projects, such as a volleyball court down on the beach, the new beach, which takes up quite a bit of area, toilet facilities in Genie Park, which I'm not against, it's something that's needed, and a dog park someplace in town. Now, the concern I really have with this here, we got more concern for the dogs than we do for our teenagers. And this is a sad state. I mean, these kids, Mike, the 3 that I brought, and Dave can remember that, they were so proud of what they were doing. And I still got the folders from what they did, that they thought they were really going to get action. I told them, you'll be an old man. You'll be like me, an old man, gray, before you ever see anything in this town, because it has to fit into the likings of everybody. We had a couple proposed areas, and there were certain people that didn't think it was appropriate to their neighborhood. It would be degrading or whatever it may be, noise or whatever it is. Yet there's plenty of noise going on down there now, but nobody seems to bother with that. But the point, somewhere along the line, somebody's got to take the bull by the horn. And one of the main reasons that these kids did get involved, because at that time there, Paul Formica was very much, and he supported it actually. He supported it, Dave supported it. There was so much support behind this thing. Broughton sent us letters of support. And these kids were, one of the favorite places they used to go was right over here outside of the town hall. And they would jump up and down off these rails over here. It was an ideal spot. And God forbid if anybody got hurt out here, because the town knew what was going on, and everybody knew what was going on, but nobody knew how to stop it or find an alternative place for them to skate. So these kids they were very disillusioned by doing it the right way, and they had to travel to different towns to do their skating. But the main reason I came here is the boardwalk. Recently, I had the opportunity to walk out to the extended walkway on the shore. The outer rail installed by Amtrak is made of wire mesh and composite posts and rails, which provides a pretty sound barrier for the people using that walkway so they don't fall over into the rocks or, so sometimes as time passes, maybe not this year, next year, the year after, sooner or later, things deteriorate, and they have a tendency to just to break down, and it become a falling hazard. The construction East Lyme used, Schedule 40 pipe. This is drain pipe, sewer pipe that you use for sewer, the wastewater lines. Schedule 40 pipe, and it's held together by tie wrap. I just walked out there. 18 joints are held together with tie wrap. This is quite a, I mean, if I was on the board, I'd be really proud of this construction. It's just unbelievable how this got past anybody. I don't know what the drawings, I did check some of the drawings when they first started, just as far as how it was being put together, and I never seen construction like that. That's why they're so far past.
I don't know how long you're going to go with that.
I'm not
That's
gonna-
a temporary fix. We are waiting for the finished product to come in on that, but we wanted to open up the boardwalk have people walk on it. In the meantime, we're holding that last piece. There are separations where the joints are in the cement, so there's expansion and contraction. But so you're absolutely right. We would never design something to have tie wraps finish the product. That's not a finished product. That's a temporary fix while we let the public enjoy as much as we can on that.
And just
So you know.
Yeah, and I probably kind of assumed that was
That's
what the
okay.
excuse was
Yeah.
going to be, that
No,
it was
no
a temporary
excuse.
fix. But the point being is, it's being used right now. This
Mm-hmm.
is the barrier that the public is dealing with, that they don't even realize that it's there. I just happen to look, as I do, just scrutinizing a little more. And the thing of it is, to say that they needed these expansion joints, if you go on the Amtrak side, there's no expansion joints for that railing. It's a hard bound railing the whole length of their walkway. There's no expansion domes. That thing is not going to really, not like a bridge. It's not made like a bridge. It's made, there's dowels in the concrete and nothing moves there. It's just the way it's constructed. So I kind of continued walking, and as I'm looking, maybe there's an excuse for this one too, but the riprap that's on the outside of it, in some areas it's 10 to 15 feet away from the sheeting wall. It's that far out. I can remember when I first looked at the plans downstairs, that they're supposed to be backed right up against the sheathing. That's supposed to be the ironclad protection for the sheeting. And what's going to happen, I'll tell you what's going to happen, because I did a lot of water work, as the water starts bouncing back and forth, it's going to get behind those stones, take those stones slowly out, like it did last time, take those stones out, exposing that sheathing, and eventually it's going to start going down. It'll go down the sheeting. When that water hits, it's going to go down the sheeting, and it's going to just start eroding the bottom. It's going to erode tunnels. And those tunnels, sooner or later, are going to start drafting it. It's going to cost a siphon, and it's going to pull the dirt from the other side of it. It's going to actually pull it down. So you're going to have real problems here. Those stones should be up against that sheeting. And if you look at the prints, that's how the prints called for it. So I hope this can get rectified pretty quick as far as this tie wrap deal, because it just, sure, you opened up the walkway, but you also opened it up yourself to a great liability if somebody gets hurt out there with these tie wraps. If they happen to give away tie wraps, they can break. And I understand what the thing was to hold it together, but it's just shaking, and sooner or later something's going to give away out there. So, as the old saying goes, you get what you pay for, and be careful with Mother Nature, because she's going to reclaim what she lost. It seems that the eyes of foresight have been blinded by the blowing sands of the Sound. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Anyone else like
And
to
you did
speak?
a good job. I want you to know that.
How are you?
Yes, Coach.
My name's Joel Leza. I'm a resident of East Lyme. I live at 41 Jeremy Drive. I'm a commercial fisherman. It's the only thing I've ever done my whole life. I live here, I think, 8 or 9 years. I've been trying to put my name in for the docks down here in East Lyme. And I've never seen any real, like, where I had a chance to get a slip. There is 2 people that have docks that are working there, and they're making a living at it. The other boats, the other docks, those boats don't leave the dock very often. I've been here 8 years. I fish for a living. At least I think that we should be able to have a bid, an opportunity for the docks. I mean, I keep a boat in New London. I keep a boat in Clinton this summer. When you're a resident, you pay a certain fee. When you're a non-resident, it's double fee, and that's in town properties. And I just wanted to have a chance to get a slip. You know, if we don't want it, that's fine. Like in other towns, if there's nobody on the waiting list, the non-resident will pay resident fees. But if it's spoken for by a resident, well, then the non-resident has to pay double. That's in Guilford and in Clinton. And I just was I've been trying to knock on the door to get my name on a list, and I haven't even gotten called back. So I just wanted to come to the meeting. Jim Engelman told me to come here and just speak. And I just wanted to see if I could get my name on a list and have a chance of getting a slip anyways, if it's possible.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public delegations? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Mike Beebe, M&M Fisheries from City Park, commercial fisherman also. I have one of the docks down there. I don't know why, I do have a dragger boat there. I put in all the commercial days that I have to be a commercial fisherman. I work 3 jobs, so maybe I'm not there like every second like these guys are, but I'm still there. I'm still fishing, and I still have my dock, and the boat is there every year. And that's basically all I wanted to say.
Good. Okay, we'll have you in next week. Anyone else? We'll move on to our agenda then.
Okay.
Thank you for your comments. Approval of the minutes, special meeting, January 20th, 2016.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the special meeting of January 20th, 2016 as submitted.
Second.
Second.
I'd like to make a
Yes?
change.
Where are you at?
This is for the special meeting. All right,
Special
sorry,
meeting?
add mine's for the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you make the approval on the next one with changes that we cut it down a
Will
little
do.
bit. So we have the special meeting of January 20th. That's D1 on your agenda. I have a motion, it's been seconded. Any other comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Mark, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, let me just make the correction, then I'll make the motion as amended. Page 4, last paragraph.
You've got to put a motion on before you can correct it.
fine. Move to approve the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting of January 20th, 2016.
With the following
With
corrections.
the following corrections.
Second.
Well, what's the
Well,
corrections?
yeah.
Okay, page 4, last paragraph, middle of it down, it says, he said there is a paper road that should be unpaved. And then he also attended a harbor management meeting where there were discussions with DACO about transient docks. It should say that the harbor management found it consistent with the harbor management.
I'm not following you.
Yeah.
He attended a harbor management meeting where there were discussions with DACO about transient docks in Cheney Park and mooring fields and docks along the channel, in which they voted to find it consistent with the harbor management plan.
Harbor management meeting found it consistent with the plan.
Yep. That's all.
I'll second it as amended.
Any further corrections? Comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. Consent calendar?
Move to approve the consent calendar for the meeting of February 3rd, 2016 in the amount of $29,585.30.
Second?
Been seconded. Comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Fantastic. We have a presentation this evening by the Youth Services Group and CRAC. So Dave Putnam, who wears multiple hats in this town. We'll introduce our presenters, or you'll jointly do that and welcome. Should we, as a commission,
Yeah.
sit to see the screen?
That would be great. We have a PowerPoint, which is, Christine's handing out right now. I think you all got a copy of the overall results.
Or is that, oh, that's the PowerPoint.
This is the PowerPoint that's going out, so it's a little different than what you received by email. So,
Okay.
so this is more condensed than every survey question and the answer to every survey question. So
During presentations, we usually sit out, and then
Yeah, that's
at
great.
the end, we can ask questions.
Absolutely.
Or if you're down at the end, you can turn to. I have PowerPoint here for your records. Now, we want to keep you on mic, so at home they can see this, and Victoria will focus on between the podium and also the screen.
Right.
So, our beloved Connecticut flag.
So in April of 2015, this drug and alcohol use survey was conducted for grades 7 through 12 at East Lyme Middle School and at East Lyme High School. Over the summer, those results were compiled by CRAC, and we have had some discussions on this, and I think it's important that it gets out to the community that what the results say and what they show. And so we made a presentation to the Board of Ed in December. I believe it was in December. And so we're here today. I think it's important that we don't leave this on our shelf, that we have some important data that should be looked at and should be discussed as a community. And so with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Devine from CRAC and go through the PowerPoint. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask Michelle, and Christine Miskell is here from CRAC too. And Christine is the epidemiologist that studies all the, I can't say that word. As a park and rec guy, I can't say epidemiologist. Too many syllables. But anyway, I'm going to turn it over to them, and please feel free to ask questions as we go along.
So yes, my name is Michelle Devine. I'm the director of CRAC, Southeastern Regional Action Council. We serve the 20 towns in southeastern Connecticut, and Christine is definitely the epidemiologist that looks at this data constantly and could answer any of your questions, I'm sure. So the basics here, East Lyme, this was done through 7th through 12th grade. It was done on SurveyMonkey. Everything was anonymous, and it was whoever was in school on the day that it was given. And there was skip logic and all of that if you have specifics about it. So there were about 1,333 students that participated. That is wonderful. Again, about 85%. You can see the breakup of the different grades. It was a fantastic response for, again, everyone in school. So we're just going to give you some of the highlights. You have the full report if you really want to look at all those numbers. But basically, this is just showing the trends in your community. Alcohol appears to be the substance of choice. So you can see in the red the alcohol use for each grade level specifically. And on the left is kind of a average for all the grades. So that's the average on the left, 33%. Lifetime. Lifetime is have you ever, and recent is the last 30 days. And then after that, you have the second highest would be marijuana. If you could go back, sorry. Second highest is marijuana, and then we have other tobacco products, and then cigarettes. So, all right. So alcohol use. We do ask where they get their alcohol from. And these are some of the responses in the community. Again, the most common source is friends, and then specifically with that, locations are homes of others, a party without an adult present, and at their own home. So these are all of the areas that we work on as an agency, and you'll see lots of different campaigns that we and laws that were constantly changing. Social host law came out of some of these parties with adult presence, or so we're seeing less social hosting. Marijuana is the most commonly used illicit drug, and after that we have synthetic marijuana, and then ecstasy and hallucinogens. Marijuana, again, most common source is their friends. 23% of lifetime users said they get it from parents without permission. 6% have gotten it from their parents with parent permission. And some of that, what we're seeing with marijuana, we are seeing the rates going up in all communities. We are seeing some shifts, and that's because of some of the recent legislative changes that have occurred. And to go to the next, well, in a few slides, I'll talk about the perceived perception of harm. So in terms of other illicit drugs, misuse of other illicit is generally low. And there you can see the percentages there: synthetic marijuana, ecstasy, and hallucinogens. We also ask about e-cigarettes, which is new to our survey the last few years. It is not considered necessarily a tobacco product, so it does have its own separate category. And we are seeing the rates of use higher, again, going higher every year with the use of e-cigarettes, and not just for the tobacco or the oil, but also being used for THC marijuana, smoking marijuana in the e-cigarettes. Energy drinks, another trend. 41% of youth report having used energy drinks in their lifetime, and 10% recent use. In the full report, you can see the breakout by grade. It definitely tends to be the initial use is in that middle school age group, and sometimes we see a continued higher rate in that 11th grade. And then the combination of energy drinks and alcohol, the dangers and risk involved in that is extremely dangerous. So we're doing a lot of education around the energy drinks. Prescription medication, which everyone is very interested in, and this presentation was the same presentation we did in December. We did not change it. But prescription medication is one of those things that we're tracking due to heroin use. We are not seeing the numbers of heroin use in the high school population. Those numbers are significantly higher in the 18 to 45, 18 to 45, 21 or so. So what we watch when we do our youth surveys is the prescription drug use in the high schools, and then that eventually, in many cases or some cases, leads to heroin use. So we have 12% of youth report lifetime and 3.5 recent misuse. And we do say misuse of any prescription medication, whether it's theirs or someone else's. Over-the-counter includes your cough syrups and mouthwash and different things like that, I guess. But over-the-counter medication, we see that tend to be in the lower grades as an initial kind of experimentation. 3.4 report lifetime. And again, that's an experimentation. Many times it doesn't continue. And so they're not continuing to do that recently. So this is where we're really seeing shifts